Good evening, everyone. In this ever-connected, hyper-digital world we live in, it's easy to share everything, our successes, our struggles, our plans, and even our private thoughts. We've grown accustomed to broadcasting our lives in the pursuit of validation, connection, or maybe just to feel seen. But here's the truth. Not everything in your life needs to be public. In fact, there are certain things that must remain private to protect your relationships, your integrity, and your peace of mind. Today, I want to talk about the 7 things to keep private in 2025. Because the more intentional you are about guarding these aspects of your life, the stronger your foundation will be. In a world where everything seems to demand our attention, our peace of mind often takes a back seat. We live in an age of constant noise, notifications buzzing, opinions flooding our screens, comparisons quietly eroding our confidence. It's not that the world is trying to steal our inner peace maliciously. It's simply that we've stopped guarding it. We've opened the gates to every distraction, every criticism, every external voice. And in doing so, we've allowed the most important thing we own, our mental and emotional well-being, to become vulnerable. But here's the truth. Your peace is sacred. It's the foundation for everything else in your life. If you don't protect it, no one else will. And when you let the world dictate your state of mind, you're no longer in control. You're reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of thriving. So the question isn't whether or not you need peace. The question is, what are you willing to do to protect it? It starts with recognizing that not everything deserves your energy. There's a myth out there that says we need to respond to everything, every comment, every opinion, every little thing that doesn't sit right with us. But the truth is we don't. Just because someone has an opinion about you doesn't mean it's your responsibility to address it. Just because someone shares their criticism doesn't mean it's valid. And just because the world is loud doesn't mean you have to match its volume. Protecting your peace means setting boundaries, not just with other people, but with yourself. It's about saying, I don't have to prove myself to anyone. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't determined by how many likes you get, how many people agree with you, or how successful you appear to others. True peace comes from knowing who you are and being okay with it, regardless of what the world thinks. But protecting your peace also means making tough choices. It means saying no when you want to say yes, because deep down you know that yes will cost you more than it's worth. It means stepping away from conversations that drain you instead of energize you. It means choosing solitude over social media when you feel overwhelmed. And it means walking away from situations or even people that disrupt your sense of calm. The thing about peace is that it's not a one-time achievement. It's not something you find and then have forever. Peace is something you choose, moment by moment, day by day. And every time you choose to protect it, you reinforce your ability to hold on to it. It's like a muscle. The more you practice setting boundaries, the stronger you become at maintaining them. But let's be clear, protecting your peace doesn't mean avoiding challenges or running away from discomfort. It's not about living in a bubble where nothing can touch you. In fact, some of the most peaceful people in the world have faced the greatest adversities. The difference is they learned to master their inner world, even when the outer world was chaotic. You see, peace isn't about avoiding storms. It's about learning to stand in the middle of one without losing your balance. It's about knowing that while you can't control what happens around you, you can always control how you respond. That's the power of protecting your peace. It puts you back in the driver's seat of your life. And when you protect your peace, something amazing happens. You start to show up as the best version of yourself. You're more present with the people you love. You're more focused on the work that matters. You're more resilient in the face of challenges. And you're more creative because your mind isn't cluttered with unnecessary noise. The next time you feel pulled in 1,000 directions, ask yourself, is this worth my peace? The next time you're tempted to engage in an argument that leads nowhere, pause and consider, is this worth my energy? And the next time you feel overwhelmed by the expectations of others, remember, you don't have to carry what's not yours. The world will always have something to say. There will always be noise. But peace isn't about silencing the world. It's about finding calm within yourself, no matter how loud things get around you. That calm isn't a gift someone else can give you. It's a choice only you can make. It's a decision to protect what truly matters, not just today, but every day. Because when you protect your peace, you're not just guarding your well-being, you're creating the space for everything else to flourish. You're giving yourself the chance to live fully, to connect deeply, and to focus on what truly matters. And in the end, that's what makes life meaningful. So protect your peace, guard it fiercely, and never apologize for choosing yourself. We live in a world that often mistakes noise for progress. We've been conditioned to believe that announcing every step we're about to take somehow makes us more accountable or validates our ambitions. But the truth is, there's incredible power in keeping your next move to yourself. Sharing every plan before it's fully formed doesn't make you more credible. It makes your dreams vulnerable. When you constantly broadcast your intentions, you invite opinions, some helpful, many not, that can cloud your vision. You allow doubt to creep in, not always because of malice, but because the world sees your dreams from its own limited perspective. The reality is, not everyone will understand what you're trying to achieve, and that's okay. Your vision doesn't need to make sense to everyone, it just needs to make sense to you. When you protect your plans, you give yourself the space to explore, to adjust, and to fail privately. Because failure isn't the enemy of progress, it's a critical part of the process. But when failure happens in the spotlight, it can paralyze you. It can make you question not just the plan, but your ability to execute it. Keeping your next move quiet isn't about secrecy for the sake of secrecy. It's about creating a safe space for growth. It's about focusing on the work, not the validation. It's about proving, first to yourself, that you're capable of following through, and when the results speak for themselves, they'll carry more weight than any announcement ever could. Let your actions do the talking. Let the success of your work be the loudest thing about you. But there's a flip side to this idea, and it's equally important: the value of protecting your relationships. In an era where every romantic gesture or family celebration feels like content, it's easy to forget that not everything is meant to be shared. Relationships thrive in intimacy, in trust, in the quiet moments where connection is built away from the eyes of the world. When you expose every detail of your personal relationships to public scrutiny, you dilute the magic of those connections. Here's the thing, relationships aren't meant to be performances. They're not for the approval of an audience. The love you share, the trust you build, the challenges you overcome together, these are sacred. They don't need applause, they need protection. Because when you let too many voices into your personal life, you lose control of the narrative. You allow others to project their opinions, their doubts, their insecurities onto something that's uniquely yours. It's not about hiding your relationships, it's about honoring them. It's about recognizing that the most important parts of your life don't need to be validated by anyone but the people involved. When you keep the intimate details of your relationships private, you create space for authenticity. You give each other the freedom to be vulnerable, to grow, to make mistakes without the pressure of an audience. And just like with your plans, keeping your relationships private doesn't mean you're ashamed of them. It means you value them enough to protect them. It means you understand that some things are too precious to be shared with the world. There's a quiet power in keeping certain parts of your life to yourself. It's not about shutting the world out. It's about knowing which parts of your life are yours to nurture. Your next move, your personal relationships, these aren't things you owe to anyone. They're things you owe to yourself to protect. When you guard your plans, you protect your vision. When you guard your relationships, you protect your heart. And when you protect these parts of your life, you create the space for them to thrive. Because in the end, the things that matter most don't need an audience. They need your attention. The next time you feel the urge to share your plans or your private moments, pause, ask yourself why. Are you sharing because it serves your growth, your purpose, your relationships? Or are you sharing because you've been conditioned to believe that validation comes from external acknowledgement? The world doesn't need to know your every step to respect you. Your relationships don't need public approval to be meaningful. What matters most is that you show up fully, authentically, and intentionally for the things that truly matter to you. There's a time to share and a time to keep things close to your chest. The wisdom lies in knowing the difference. Because when you protect what's important, you don't just guard it from harm, you give it the space to become everything it's meant to be. In a world driven by speed and exposure, we've lost sight of the things that truly need safeguarding. It's tempting to share everything, to seek validation, and to believe that openness equals connection. But when we expose too much, we risk weakening the very foundation of what makes us strong: our dreams, our acts of kindness, and our struggles. These aren't just personal, they're sacred. And when we allow the world too much access, we rob them of their power. There's something incredibly fragile about a dream. When it's first born, it's delicate, uncertain, and vulnerable to the slightest shift in the wind. Sharing your dreams prematurely invites opinions from people who may not see your vision, not because they don't believe in you, but because they're looking at it through their lens. They might project their doubts, their fears, or their limitations onto something that only you can truly understand. And sometimes their words, however well-meaning, can plant seeds of uncertainty in your mind. But dreams are meant to grow in quiet. They need time to take root, to develop strength before they face the world. When you keep your dreams to yourself, you give them the freedom to evolve without interference. You allow yourself the space to fail privately, to pivot without explanation, and to build momentum without distraction. Protecting your dreams isn't about secrecy. It's about nurturing them until they're ready to stand on their own. And when the time comes to share them, let the results speak louder than the plan ever could. Kindness is another sacred act that loses its purity when it becomes performative. We've all seen it. A grand gesture, captured on video, shared across platforms with captions that scream for recognition. But true kindness isn't about being seen. It's not about applause or praise. It's about the act itself, the quiet decision to make someone else's day better without expecting anything in return. When you perform kindness for the sake of acknowledgement, you dilute its impact. It stops being about the other person and becomes about you. But when you practice kindness quietly, something profound happens. You remind yourself of what it means to give selflessly. You reconnect with the joy of seeing someone else smile, knowing that your actions had a part to play. That joy doesn't come from validation. It comes from purpose. Protecting your acts of kindness means keeping them private, not because they're insignificant, but because they're powerful. When you give without the need for recognition, you shift the focus from yourself to the impact you're creating. And that's where the real magic lies. It's in the quiet, unseen moments that kindness becomes transformative, not just for the person receiving it, but for you as well. And then there are struggles. In an age where vulnerability is celebrated, it's easy to feel like you owe the world access to your pain. We've been told that sharing our hardships builds connection and makes us relatable. While there's truth in that, not everyone deserves to know your struggles. Vulnerability is powerful, but only when shared with the right people. When you expose your struggles to the wrong audience, you risk being met with indifference, judgment, or even worse, exploitation. Your struggles are a part of your story, and not everyone has earned the right to hear them. Sharing them too widely can leave you feeling exposed and misunderstood. But when you choose to share them with people who truly care, who see you for who you are and not just what you're going through, something beautiful happens. You find support, understanding, and a safe space to heal. Protecting your struggles doesn't mean hiding them. It means being intentional about who you let in. It's about recognizing that your pain is valid and doesn't need an audience to be real. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is sit with your struggles quietly, learn from them, and emerge stronger on the other side. Dreams, kindness, struggles, these are not things to be tossed into the chaos of the world. They are the essence of who you are. When you protect them, you're not closing yourself off. You're giving yourself the room to grow, to give, and to heal on your own terms. The world will always invite you to share more than you should. It will tell you that exposure equals strength, that visibility equals value. But strength comes from within. It's built in the quiet moments when no one is watching, in the choices you make, to honor what's sacred. Hold your dreams close until they're ready to soar. Practice kindness for the sake of kindness, not applause. Share your struggles with those who've earned your trust, not with the world at large. Protecting these parts of your life isn't selfish, it's necessary. Because when you guard what matters, you create a foundation that allows you to thrive, not just in moments of success, but in every moment that defines your journey. We live in a time where the lines between public and private have blurred. The world urges us to share everything, our victories, our struggles, our plans, and even the quiet moments meant only for us. And while transparency is celebrated, there's immense strength in knowing when to hold back. Not everything is meant for the spotlight. Some things grow stronger when nurtured in the shadows, protected from the noise and the judgment of the outside world. When it comes to your dreams, keeping them private isn't about being secretive. It's about preserving their potential. A dream, when it's new, is delicate, like a spark waiting to become a flame. It doesn't need the wind of external opinions blowing it out before it even catches fire. Sharing your dreams too soon can invite skepticism, not always out of malice, but because people often see your vision through the lens of their own limitations. They'll ask, "Are you sure?" Or "What if it doesn't work?" Not because they don't believe in you, but because they're projecting their fears onto your ambition. Your dreams don't need an audience when they're in their infancy. They need focus, dedication, and time to grow. Keep them close, protect them, and let them mature. And when they're ready, when they've been nurtured and built into something strong, let your results speak for themselves. The world respects outcomes far more than intention. So let your actions tell the story. Let the work you've put in shine brighter than any announcement ever could. The same is true for your personal relationships. In a culture where everything from engagements to anniversaries becomes content, we often forget that the best connections are built in private. Relationships thrive in the quiet moments, in the trust and intimacy shared between two people. But when you expose your personal life to the public, you invite opinions that don't belong there. Relationships aren't meant to be performances. They're not for the validation of an audience. They're for the hearts of the people involved. When you share every detail of your relationship, you open the door to judgment, comparison, and even envy. You let the world's expectations dictate how you show up for the person you love. But when you keep your relationships private, you create a safe space for growth. You allow room for vulnerability, for mistakes, and for learning without the pressure of outside scrutiny. It's not about hiding your connection, it's about honoring it. Protecting your relationships doesn't make them less meaningful, it makes them stronger. And then there's the way we handle our acts of kindness. We've grown used to seeing generosity turned into a spectacle, filmed and shared for likes and admiration. But true kindness doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need a camera or a caption. The beauty of giving lies in its purity. The simple act of making someone else's life better without expecting anything in return. When you perform kindness for recognition, the act becomes about you, not the person you're helping. But when you give quietly, without seeking credit, you tap into something much deeper. You remind yourself that the purpose of kindness is not to be seen, but to create change. And that change, no matter how small, often ripples far beyond what you'll ever know. The world doesn't need to see your generosity to validate it. In fact, the most profound acts of kindness often go unnoticed. They happen in the shadows, where the impact matters more than the acknowledgement. So, give not because you want to be praised, but because you want to make a difference. That's where the true power of kindness lies. There's the importance of protecting your struggles. We've been told that sharing our hardships makes us stronger, more relatable, more human, and while vulnerability can indeed build connection, it's not meant for everyone. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your struggles, to see your pain, or to walk alongside you in your most challenging moments. When you share your struggles with the wrong audience, you risk being met with indifference or judgment. Worse, you open yourself up to those who might use your vulnerability against you. Protecting your struggles doesn't mean denying them or pretending they don't exist. It means choosing carefully who you trust with your story. There's power in being selective. When you share your struggles with people who truly care, you create space for healing and support. You give yourself the gift of understanding and compassion, rather than the risk of being misunderstood. And sometimes, the best way to process your challenges is to sit with them quietly, to reflect and grow without the pressure of outside opinions. Your dreams, your relationships, your kindness, and your struggles, these are not things to be handed over to the world without thought. They're the most personal, meaningful parts of your life. And when you protect them, you're not just keeping them safe, you're giving them the chance to flourish. The world will always ask for more than you should give. It will tell you that sharing everything makes you stronger, more authentic, but true strength comes from discernment. It comes from knowing what's worth sharing and what's worth keeping private. So, guard what matters. Hold your dreams, your love, your kindness, and your pain close, not because they're weak, but because they're powerful, and power is always worth protecting. In today's fast-paced world, we are constantly encouraged to put everything on display. Social media, the rise of influencer culture, and the endless pressure to keep up have led to an environment where people feel like every moment of their lives should be shared. But in this culture of oversharing, there's something deeply valuable about knowing when to keep things to yourself. Certain aspects of our lives are best kept private. Not out of fear or secrecy, but out of respect for their integrity and significance. One of the most important things to keep private is your dreams. When you first form an idea or set a goal, it's fragile. It's like a seed that has been planted in the soil, just beginning to take root. Sharing that dream too early can invite skepticism and doubt from others, whether it's intentional or not. People might not understand your vision, they may project their own fears or limitations onto your aspirations, or they might simply be too focused on their own perspective to fully comprehend yours. That's why it's critical to guard your dreams in the early stages. You don't need validation from others, you need focus, courage, and time to let your dream grow. The more you expose it before it's ready, the more you risk someone else inadvertently putting out your spark. When the time is right, your actions will speak louder than any declaration of intent. Results will always carry more weight than words. Another important aspect to protect is your kindness. Kindness, when it's performed publicly for the sake of recognition, loses its true power. In today's world, it's easy to fall into the trap of doing something nice and then sharing it with everyone to gain validation. But the beauty of kindness lies in its selflessness, in the quiet, unspoken gesture that asks for nothing in return. When you make kindness about yourself, about getting praise for being a good person, you distort the very essence of what it means to give. Kindness should never be about receiving accolades or attention. It should be about the person receiving it. True generosity doesn't require applause. The purest acts of kindness happen in the spaces where no one is watching. It's those moments that truly define who you are and what you stand for. By keeping your acts of kindness private, you allow the authenticity of your actions to shine. You give not to be seen, but because it's the right thing to do. And in turn, this kind of kindness builds a stronger and more meaningful impact, one that doesn't rely on external validation to feel significant. Your struggles are another key part of your life that deserve privacy. We are often encouraged to be vulnerable, to share our challenges openly in an attempt to appear authentic and relatable. While vulnerability can be powerful and help foster connection, it's important to remember that not everyone has earned the right to know your struggles. We live in a culture where everyone's story is put on display, but vulnerability is a shared experience. It should be approached with discernment. When you share your personal struggles with people who haven't earned your trust, you open yourself to judgment, criticism, or misunderstanding, and that can cause more harm than good. Your challenges are deeply personal, and they deserve to be shared with those who have the capacity to support you, who can hold space for your vulnerability and offer genuine help. By choosing carefully who you let in, you protect the integrity of your emotional well-being. Protecting your struggles doesn't mean hiding them. It means understanding that some things are only for you to process in your own time and in your own way. There's also the matter of your personal relationships. In an age where everything seems to be for public consumption, we forget that some things are meant to be experienced privately. Our relationships, whether romantic, familial, or close friendships, are meant to be nurtured in intimacy, not for the approval of an audience. When you expose every detail of your relationship to the world, you invite external judgment. People will project their opinions onto your connection, making it less about the love, trust, and respect you've built, and more about the way it is perceived. Not everything about a relationship needs to be shared, and not every moment needs to be captured. In fact, it's often the unspoken, quiet moments that are the most meaningful. Keeping your relationships private doesn't mean hiding them from the world. It simply means protecting them from external forces that could weaken their foundation. Relationships are about mutual understanding, respect, and trust, and those things are best built away from the eyes of others. There's the matter of your personal finances. In a world obsessed with consumption, status, and comparison, it's easy to feel like you have to share how much you earn or spend or how successful your financial life looks. But the truth is, your financial situation is deeply personal. The moment you allow others to judge your wealth or lack thereof, you invite unnecessary stress, envy, and pressure into your life. Your financial security, or the lack of it, does not define you. It's a part of your journey, but it is not who you are. When you share too much about your financial status, you make yourself vulnerable to judgment or even exploitation. It's far more beneficial to focus on your financial goals quietly, working towards them in your own time. Your financial well-being is something you need to protect, because it is closely tied to your sense of security, your ability to make choices freely, and your peace of mind. Protect these parts of your life. Your dreams, kindness, struggles, relationships, and finances are not meant for the world's eyes. When you keep them private, you give them the space they need to grow, to become more than what others might expect. You honor their importance and allow them to flourish in their own time. There is power in discretion. You don't need to share everything to be seen, validated, or appreciated. What matters is that you give the best of yourself in every aspect of your life. And sometimes the best way to do that is to keep certain things close to your chest. In today's interconnected world, it's easy to feel compelled to share every detail of our lives. The constant pressure to be transparent, authentic, and visible has made privacy a rare commodity. Yet there is immense value in knowing when to hold certain things back. Privacy isn't about secrecy. It's about protecting what is meaningful, personal, and essential. Some parts of your life, when kept private, allow you to focus, grow, and maintain the integrity of your vision and relationships. Your dreams are among the most sacred things in your life. When you first start to form a goal or aspiration, it's fragile. It's a seed just beginning to sprout. Sharing it too early invites external opinions, doubts, and feedback from others who may not fully understand your vision or the path you need to take. People often see the world through their own experiences and limitations, and while they might not mean any harm, their words can plant seeds of doubt or fear that may prevent your dream from flourishing. When you share your dream too early, it's like opening a book to a chapter that isn't finished. It's incomplete, and exposing it to the world before it's ready can cause it to lose its power. Keeping your dreams private in the early stages gives them the space to grow, develop, and mature. Once your ideas take root, they become harder to shake. It's not about hiding your ambitions, it's about protecting them long enough to see them through. Kindness is another powerful force that is often diluted when made public. In a world where acts of kindness are routinely shared on social media, it can be easy to fall into the trap of performing kindness for validation. But true kindness doesn't need an audience. When kindness is given with the expectation of praise or recognition, it loses its authenticity. The essence of kindness lies in giving without expecting anything in return. It's in the small, quiet acts that make a difference, often when no one is watching. Think about the last time you did something kind without the world knowing. It felt good, didn't it? That's because true kindness isn't a transaction. It's not about how it makes you look, but about the impact it has on the person receiving it. Protect your kindness from being commodified by others' expectations. By keeping it private, you preserve its purest form, the simple joy of giving. When you give without seeking anything in return, you reconnect with what truly matters, the human connection, not the validation of an audience. Similarly, your personal struggles deserve privacy too. It's tempting to overshare in a culture that celebrates vulnerability and openness. But vulnerability isn't meant for everyone. Not everyone needs to know the hardships you face. Sharing your struggles with the wrong people, people who may not understand or appreciate your journey, can lead to further judgment, misunderstanding, or even exploitation. When you make your struggles public, you invite unsolicited advice, criticism, and even comparisons to others' hardships. Your struggles are part of your personal journey, and they don't need to be broadcast for sympathy or recognition. The most important thing is to process these challenges with the right people. Those who truly have your best interests at heart. The people who can support you without judgment, who can offer help and empathy, are the ones who deserve to be part of that story. Sometimes the best way to heal is in solitude or in the company of a trusted few. Protecting your struggles doesn't mean hiding them. It means being discerning about who you allow into that part of your life. Your relationships are another vital area to protect. In an age where everything, from your relationship status to every interaction with loved ones, is made public, it's crucial to recognize that not everything should be shared. Relationships are built on trust, intimacy, and mutual respect, things that are often diluted when exposed to the public eye. When you share every detail of your personal relationships, you risk distorting the way they are seen by others. People begin to project their own assumptions and judgments onto your connection, which can weaken the bond between you and your loved ones. Relationships are meant to be nurtured in privacy, away from the noise of external opinions. The best relationships are often the quietest, the ones where two people can simply be themselves without the pressure of constant validation from others. By protecting the privacy of your relationships, you ensure that they remain strong, authentic, and meaningful without being influenced by the expectations of others. Your finances are another area where privacy can be a form of protection. In a world where wealth is often flaunted and financial success is used as a benchmark for worth, there's immense value in keeping your financial situation private. Your financial status, whether you're doing well or struggling, is not a measure of your worth as a person. When you expose your financial situation to others, you invite judgment and unnecessary stress. Comparing your financial life to someone else's only leads to dissatisfaction. It's essential to keep your financial goals and decisions private so that you can focus on what's best for you, without the pressure of societal expectations. Your financial journey is uniquely yours. The decisions you make should come from your values, not from the desire to impress others or conform to a societal ideal of success. Protecting your finances means ensuring that your financial decisions remain aligned with your personal goals, not the external pressures to fit into a certain mold. Finally, there is the importance of protecting your time. Time is perhaps the most valuable resource you have, and how you spend it should be intentional. Yet, in a world where everyone demands your attention, whether through notifications, meetings, or social media, it's easy to lose sight of how much time you're giving away. When you share too much of your time with others, you risk depleting yourself, leaving little energy for what truly matters to you. Protecting your time means setting boundaries and being intentional about where you direct your attention. Not every invitation or request demands a response. When you guard your time, you make space for your own growth, creativity, and well-being. Time is a finite resource, and the way you use it shapes your future. So be discerning about how much you share and to whom. By protecting your time, you protect your ability to focus on what truly matters. These areas of life, your dreams, kindness, struggles, relationships, finances, and time, are worth protecting. By keeping them private, you give them the room they need to grow, develop, and flourish. Privacy doesn't mean shutting the world out. It means creating the space for the most important things in your life to thrive, free from external influence. In a world where the boundaries between public and private are constantly shifting, it is essential to recognize the value of privacy in certain aspects of our lives. Protecting your dreams, kindness, struggles, relationships, finances, and time isn't about secrecy or fear. It's about giving these elements of your life the space they need to flourish. When we keep these parts of ourselves private, we honor their significance and allow them to grow with the focus, care, and integrity they deserve. Privacy grants us the opportunity to build on what matters most without the distraction of external validation or judgment. It's not about hiding, it's about protecting the integrity of our journey, fostering genuine connections, and ensuring that the most important things in our lives remain strong and true. Ultimately, knowing when to keep things private is a powerful tool in living a life that is intentional, authentic, and aligned with our values.